with that.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Canvas training. This is our intermediate session for CSUF. And what we're going to be doing today is walking you through some of a little bit more advanced features. I don't know if we'll call them advanced, but just to give you a little bit of context, there was a basic training and an advanced training a little bit earlier, about a month or so ago. And there's recordings of those available. I'll show them to you momentarily. But this session is what we call the intermediate. So it's a little bit in between that advanced or that beginning and that advanced. For this session, we recommend that you have attended the basic session first, because we're not going to cover some very basic pieces of Canvas today. We're going to kind of jump straight into building, which I think will be good. However, if you haven't attended, you're welcome to stay on, but just keep in mind that there may be some missing pieces here. So you'll want to go back and catch the recording later. Also, I want to point out that this session is being recorded, and this session will also be available. And I'll show you where that will appear here momentarily, okay? Anyway, to get started, let me introduce myself. My name's Kyle Cooper. I am a native of Tooele, Utah. I grew up in Utah, love the state, but you know, normally a lot of times I'm actually traveling around, getting to see people in different places and see the different schools that use Canvas. But of course, with our current situation, that's kind of been that part of the gig has kind of been cut out. But I still get to join you virtually, and I'm happy to be here with you. Anyway, I love being with my family. I've got 3 kids and my wife here in Utah with me, and you know, we have a fantastic time together. And actually, you know, just like the slide says, I hate Brussels sprouts, but really that's not why we're here. I just want to make sure you can put a little bit of a face to a name as far as who you're talking to today. Now, a couple other things before we move on to this, to our agenda today. I want to just talk about a few housekeeping items as far as how today's training is going to be designed. So today's training is really intended to help you get a real taste of what you can do in Canvas. Okay, so what that means is I'm going to be sharing with you some information, but I'm also going to be giving you opportunities to try some of these things out. So we're going to follow a little bit of a process that I like to call, you know, show and then do. In other words, I'm going to show you something and then you're going to do it or try it. The best way to get most out of this training is during that demonstration piece, during that showing piece, make an effort not to try to follow along. Okay, it gets a little bit tricky if you try to follow along. Basically, what you want to do is essentially just watch what I'm doing, and then keep in mind that you will have 10 to 15 minutes a little bit after to be able to try the things that I'm showing you. Okay, and during that trying time, you'll also have an opportunity to ask lots of questions. So today in the Zoom room, we have 2 different methods of communication. We have a Q&A and then we have a chat, okay? The Q&A is where you're going to want to ask your questions related to the training, where you're gonna wanna ask, hey, how did Kyle do this? How did Kyle do that? Can I do this in Canvas? Or what can I do if I run into this circumstance? That type of stuff. Oh my goodness, I just realized I have a typo on my slide. Sorry, I didn't mean to get distracted, but I don't like Brussels sprouts. Anyway, not to get derailed. So the Q&A, that's where you're gonna ask questions. And we have several people from CSUF with us in the room today that are gonna be monitoring and helping with that chat. I'll be watching it as well. So we'll have plenty of eyes on it, okay? Now, the alternative piece that we have is a chat. And really, that's not where you're going to get your questions answered. The reason we have that available is so that you can reach out to panelists. And by panelists, I mean the other CSUF admins that are in the room with us. If you need to reach out to them, you can do it through the chat. The chat's not a great place to ask questions because it doesn't help, you know, we don't really keep track of the questions in the chat. It's more so for following up on any questions you might have. So if there's a question that gets added and maybe you need to elaborate or you need to talk to a panelist more about it, that might be the place where you need to do that. Another example is if you're having technical difficulties, you may want to reach out through the chat. The Q&A is strictly for, hey, I have questions about the training. We're trying to keep it clean so that those questions, everybody can gain value by looking at those questions as they're published. Anyway, so that should give you a little bit of an idea about how the session is going to be run. Now, with that said, I also want to mention one last thing before we get started, and that is your migration from your previous LMS, your old courses, okay? So there was a migration survey that went out, and if you didn't get that, that's where you're going to want to just reach out to your admins. But there was a migration survey that went out that asked about migrating your courses to Canvas. If you filled that out, your courses have been moved to Canvas, okay? They have been moved to Canvas. There's still some final cleanup going on. So when you go into your dashboard or when you go into Canvas, you may not actually see your courses. They might be empty. However, once that cleanup is done, you'll get an email and you'll know that that migration is complete. So in other words, you don't need to, really, if your question is, hey, I wanted my course to be migrated, how come it's not here? That's the answer, okay? So hopefully you don't need to ask that question. That should be happening shortly. Your team's very aware of it, and it's in the works as we speak, okay? All right, let's go ahead and get started then. I think that's all of our housekeeping stuff. So let's take a look at our agenda. We got 3 primary things we're going to be talking about today, and we've got about 3 hours to do it. We'll be taking a break probably every hour or so to be able to stretch our legs, stand up, whatever we need to do. But those 3 things we're going to talk about is organizing a Canvas course, building an incredible homepage, and then copying Canvas content, okay? And when I say copying Canvas content, we're also going to be talking about, you know, the content that may be provided to you in by way of, you know, your migrated course. How do you copy content from one course to another, that type of thing. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. But actually, the first place I'm going to start is not even in Canvas. I'm going to start on my whiteboard. We're going to talk a little bit about organizing a Canvas course. This is something that I get a little bit on my soapbox about, okay? Because when we talk about organization, it is a critical aspect to online education. Absolutely critical. Think about it this way. If you were to go to Disneyland, and let's hypothetically say, and this might even be true in some cases, that Disneyland has the most fun rides, okay? If you were to go to Disneyland and you wanted to ride all the most fun rides, how much benefit would there be if you got there, but you couldn't even find the rides, right? The park was such a mess, and the organization, the layout of the park was so disorganized that you could not find the rides that you were looking for. You can probably see where I'm going here, right? So in a Canvas course, we can create a lot of really cool things and really valuable things for our parents and for, excuse me, not parents, for our students. But if the students can't access it or they don't know how to navigate it, it doesn't do them any good. It doesn't do us any good. And it creates a frustrating experience for everybody because students are going to constantly be reaching out to you asking where to find things. So the organization of your course and the ability to navigate it easily is absolutely critical. And that's what we're going to talk about for this first little bit. But before we get into Canvas, I need to show you something a little bit about, let's relate our Canvas course a little bit to a course or something we're familiar with, a physical classroom. Okay, so if you have your physical classroom, let's pretend this is our Canvas course, but it could also, you know, represent our hypothetical physical classroom. In every single classroom, in every single class that we teach, there's always 2 sides. There's a teacher side and there's a student-facing side. And this is true of physical classrooms. This is also true of Canvas digital classrooms, okay, or Canvas courses. There's a teacher side and a student side. Even though you may not have seen it that way, there's always a teacher side of the classroom that students don't see. There's all the assignments you create, but you haven't distributed yet. There's all the handouts that you might create. There's all the communications that you'll eventually be sending to students, right? All that stuff that is probably filed away in a filing cabinet or something behind your desk, or that's how it was done in the past, right? All those things, that's the teacher side of the classroom. And that's all stuff that we need. So for example, on the teacher side, you might have, you know, a box of all your assignments where you keep, and these little X's just to represent different assignments you've created. You might also have handouts that we'll refer to as pages that you create and that are added to your course. Okay, you might also have something like, you know, quizzes, different quizzes that you've created, and add those to your course. All this stuff, this is stuff that you've created that you're going to share with students, but maybe you haven't shared it with them yet. Well, one of the major problems that we have with Canvas, and something that new teachers run into all the time, is they tend to actually, instead of creating a student side of their course where that's information is organized and distributed to students in a kind of a logical fashion, they just create a Canvas course, they put all their stuff in it, and then they share this with their students. They share everything all at once. So when students jump into Canvas, it's just a big box of everything for the course, okay? And it creates a lot of frustration for students. It creates a lot of concern because they don't know where to go and they don't know how to navigate it. Instead, what we're going to do, and this is what we're going to show you in Canvas today, we're going to leverage a tool called modules, where we'll create, for example, module 1, which might represent week 1, and then we'll create module 2, which might represent week 2. And in those respective weeks, we might have, you know, one handout or one page. And then we also have an assignment. And then for week 2, we have, you know, a handout. And then we have a quiz. But the point is here, students, they understand how to navigate this because it's organized in a way that they just follow, okay, here's week 1, I'll do everything in week 1, and then here's week 2 and week 3 and week 4, so on and so forth. So students can easily know where to go and what to do without having to reach out to the professor and ask, hey, what's going on this week, right? It makes it super, super easy. And I've heard some people say, well, don't we do this in the syllabus already? And that's true, but one of the challenges is if this is only in the syllabus, the student still has to go find it. And if your stuff is all organized like this, it's gonna be a pain for the student. It's gonna be a frustration for the student. So we wanna make sure that we organize our course really, really well, okay? And I'm gonna show you how to do that. A major component to that is removing any distractions that the student might not need. So let's get into the actual application of how to do this. All right, so I'm in Canvas. I'm going to start on my dashboard. Today for our Canvas course, everyone should have access to a sandbox. This is my sandbox here, okay? You should have a sandbox. It just should be called sandbox or something to that effect with your name. If you don't have a sandbox, basically what you need is a course that you can access, that you can play in, okay? A place where you can make adjustments and play, stuff that's not going to impact students. I'm going to jump into my sandbox now. And I'm going to talk about how we create these modules, is what they're called. But before we do that, one of the things that you should take note of over here on the left, this is what we call the course menu. This right now looks like a hot mess to me. And the reason why I say that is there's so many links that students may not even know how to navigate, okay? Or they may not even realize the different pieces that are in here. So before I even create any modules, one of the things that's critical to course organization is adjusting this menu, okay? Now I'm gonna do this really quick. Remember my model, I'm gonna show you how to do it and then I want you to try it. So I'm gonna do it first and then I'm gonna give you a second to try it out. But watch these steps that I go through. So to adjust this menu right here, I'm gonna scroll down to the very bottom of the menu and there's settings. It's always on the bottom, okay? Settings is always on the bottom. So I click settings. After I click settings, I'm gonna click right up here on navigation. And then you'll see this big long list. You might even see 2 lists like mine, okay? I've got lists right here and then this list down here. This is the stuff the students can see. This is the stuff students cannot see. So for the beginning of my course, I'm actually going to take everything, and again, just watch for now. I'm going to drag and drop everything down except for just a few things. I'm going to drag and drop everything except for my grades, my modules, and my announcements. Okay, so home, announcements, modules, and grades. That's what I'm going to keep here. Once I'm done, I hit save. And now my menu is cleaned up for my students. These little eyeballs, even though I have access to these spaces, like the quizzes, collaboration, rubrics, even though I have access to them, students do not. That's what the little eyeballs mean. These have eyeballs still. That is simply because we haven't created that content yet. Since there are no announcements, it will hide them from the students. But once we create an announcement, that will then become visible, okay? All right, so now I want you to go through those same steps. We're only gonna take about 2 or 3 minutes to try that out. Go into your course, go to settings, that's step number 1. Then step number 2 is go to navigation. And then step number 3 is to make your items on your menu look like mine, okay? I'm gonna give you about 2 or 3 minutes to do that. I'll play some music so that everybody knows I'm still here. After about 2 minutes, I'll jump back in, okay? And we'll get started on the next thing.
I know I brushed it off quite rashly. I introduced myself, and she said her name was Sky. A simple hi, and I could tell.
Okay, so that was about 2 minutes. Now that you've had a chance to adjust this menu, click back on the home page and we'll get started with this next piece of instruction. Again, adjusting that home menu, one more thing I'm gonna mention about that. Some of you might be thinking, but there's certain apps, there's other things in that menu that I want to use. And that may be very well true. My recommendation is anything you need at the very start of class. So if there's apps that you're gonna be using, or if there's anything in this menu that you're gonna be using at the very beginning of your course, it makes sense to keep it around, okay? But anything that you're not gonna be using at the beginning, then I would recommend hiding it. And some of the things, sometimes some of the things I almost always recommend hiding is this assignments page, this discussions page, this quizzes page, and this pages page, okay? The reason why I say that is because those spaces are like big filing cabinets full of all of your pages or all of your assignments. And that's not really something you want to share with students, right? Because it's confusing. They don't know which assignments to do or what order to do them in. Please keep that in mind, okay? That we don't want to be sharing all that stuff because we're going to share it with them through the modules, and you'll see that in just a minute. Anyway, so with that said, so here we have, so now we've adjusted our menu. Let's go ahead and take the next step and start organizing some modules, just like I was talking about on the whiteboard. So I'm going to go ahead and click on modules right here in my course, okay? So I click on modules. And now I'm working in a brand new course. It's 100% empty. Yours may have content in it depending on what's been going on in your course or if you've played around with it already. So if it doesn't look exactly the same, don't panic. But it's still gonna work the same way. So the first thing that you're gonna wanna do is create some modules. And keep in mind right now, you're just watching, don't try to follow along. So I'm gonna create a couple modules. I'm gonna come up here and hit add module. I'm gonna call this my welcome to class, and I'll create a welcome module, and then I'm going to add another module, and we're going to call this week 1, and I'm going to put on here, I'm going to put the date, it's week 1, August 20, I don't know, let's see, let's look at some actual dates. We'll say the class starts on the 24th, so we'll say the 24th through the 28th, 24th, through the 28th, okay? And then I'm gonna also give this a title, and we're gonna just say, you know, this week, we're actually gonna be talking about the course introduction. Okay, add module. Now, the reason I'm descriptive like this is because I want students to be able to know where to go without having to ask me. They know what the date is, what dates they should be in. They know what it's going to be talking about, right? So be descriptive with your module names. Don't just call it week 1 or module 1. You'll want to be descriptive. It provides a lot of value to your students. Now let's go ahead and add one more. I'm going to do week 2, which is going to be the 31st, August 31st through September 4th. So we're going to say week 2, August 31st. 31 through September 4th. And then this title, we'll call it Exploration of Space, because maybe this is an astronomy class. So now we've got a few modules here for us, okay? But these modules, they're just containers right now. They don't have anything in them, all right? They're empty containers. So now, just like in our demo, when I was going on the whiteboard and I said, you know, you have the 2 sides of your course and we want to move things, you know, from this over to week 1. When I talked about that, Now that's what we're going to do. We're going to add content to these modules. So in my welcome to my class, this is the first week of class, and I put it in a separate module just because I want them to be able to refer back to it really easily. These are going to be all my class policies, things like my syllabus, basically pretty much anything that would be on a syllabus. And we want to introduce to our students. That's going to be in this welcome to my class module. So I'm going to come over here on the right and click the add button right here. And I can choose what I want to add into this module. I can do an assignment, a quiz, file page. I can add a lot of different types of things. I'm going to start with a page, which is basically a handout, okay? Now it shows me all the pages I've created. I've created a home page, and that's it. So if the page I need is not on here, I can create it new by selecting new page. And I'm going to go ahead and select. So in that new page, I'm going to come in here and say, okay, this is going to be welcome to astronomy. I think 1011. That'll be our course. So this is my welcome page where I introduce the class topic. Maybe I introduce the class expectations, you know, maybe the learning outcomes of the course. I'll go ahead and add another page. We'll say, meet your instructor. Well, we ought to do a colon there, I think. Kyle Cooper. Now I'm also, let's add in here, maybe this is a class that I really want to promote discussion and promote social learning. So I'm going to create a discussion that's just called Introduce Yourself. And this is going to be a really low stakes assignment where students will actually just in the discussion board, they'll introduce themselves with maybe a video or a picture, something to that effect, something real simple like that. Okay. And then finally, let's go ahead and add one more thing. I'm going to do an assignment and I'm just going to call it first Canvas assignment. The reason why I'm creating this assignment, it's a really low stakes opportunity. Since this is the first week, it allows students to submit an assignment that is basically going to just give them an opportunity to try out Canvas if they haven't used it before. Okay. Now these aren't things that you have to have in every single course, but you can if you want, right? Now that I've shown you a little bit of how to do this, I'm going to go ahead and refresh my page. What I've done is I went to modules, okay, and then I went and clicked add module, and then I used the plus button on the module to add in content. Now that I've done that, let's go ahead and jump back and start with a exercise. I want you to create 2 modules, add 2 types of content to a module, and practice rearranging the module contents. I didn't show that to you too much. Really all it is you might have to refresh, but once you create content, you'll see these little 8 dots appear. You can drag and drop content around. So if you create it, or if you need to add something in the middle, that's easy to do, okay? Anyway, let's go ahead and try that out now. I'm gonna play the music again. So this time I'm gonna give you a little bit more time, probably only about 3 to 5 minutes. So you can try adding these modules. We're not done with them after this, but this will give you a good head start, okay? All right, everybody. So we're going to stop from building our modules. I know you may not have built everything out yet, but I wanted to stop really quick from building our modules and take a second to show you a little bit more that you can do with these modules. We'll have more time to practice, okay? If you are not able to build out your whole course today, that's okay. In fact, I'd be surprised if you could, because this stuff really does take time. Now, I want to just remind everybody as well that you'll want to use the Q&A for asking any questions related to content, especially. So if you're wanting to know how to do something in Canvas, or you want to know how to take care of a particular issue or something, feel free to ask in the Q&A, so that asking the Q&A, it's just so much easier for us to keep track of the questions if you do it that way. When you ask them through the chat, they tend to get lost in the shuffle, especially the more people that ask them in the chat. The more they'll get lost in the shuffle. So if you previously posted a question in the chat and it didn't get answered, just go through the Q&A, okay? Ask it again through the Q&A. That's the best route to go because we may not be able to get to any questions that come through the chat. The chat is more for following up and having those one-on-one conversations you might need to have with a panelist, okay? Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to our next piece of instruction. So now we have some modules and our modules have a little content in them. But one of the major challenges that I see happen a lot with content is I see instructors, well, let me take a step back. In my example here, I only have 4 items, right? So it's really easy for a hypothetical student to be able to navigate this module. It's really pretty simple. However, when you're talking about a live course, a real course that you're working with real students, real assignments, and real exercises, it's not uncommon to have, I mean, if we're doing weekly content, oh man, it's got to get rearranged. If we're doing week 1, it's very possible to have in 1 week 10 different items because I might have 2 content pages or 3 content pages, maybe 1 a day. So that would be 5 content pages. And then I might even have, a quiz and an assignment. So these things can build up quickly, just depending on your course. However, there's an easy fix to that because the challenge is if we get too much stuff in our modules, they start to really build up and then they again become confusing and difficult to navigate for students. But there's an easy fix for that. And first, before I show you how to do it, let me show you an example of what I mean. Okay, so I'll show you what one looks like after it's done. We're going to jump into my outer space course here. Go to my modules. And here you can see I have my class introduction, then the solar system, our galaxy traveling outer space. But if I open unit 1, notice it's divided up and it gives students a very, very clear picture about how to go about the, engaging with this content. Okay, so here's a weekly overview, and then it says Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, right? And you may not want to organize it day by day. This course was more designed for a K-12, so it's not the perfect example for higher education. And in K-12, obviously, we want to organize things very, day by day. However, something for higher ed that maybe really students might find really valuable is if you did something like this. Maybe you had a section in this space. I have some content that I want students to read and other content that I want them to actually submit and complete as an assignment. So I'm going to divide those up. I'm going to go ahead and click on, and this is the part where I'm going to show you actually how to do it. Don't try to follow along. I'll give you time to try this out. But I click on plus, and now I'm going to select the item text header. Okay, I'm going to select text header, and I'm just going to put weekly reading. And I'm going to do a plus again. I'm going to do another text header, and I'm going to call this one weekly to do. Because they may not be assignments, but they're things I want students to do. Now, I found sometimes that when you try to create text headers in a row, sometimes this button grays out like this. If you have that problem like I'm having right now, just click this, go to your assignment, click on something in the box, and then go back to text header. And now it will not be grayed out, okay? A little bit of a bug, but easy to fix. Anyway, I hit add item, and now I have a weekly reading and weekly to do. Let's move these to their appropriate places. So weekly reading, and now weekly to do. So now we have students, you're gonna read these 2 things, and then you're gonna do these 2 things. Okay, and it's not so much day by day, but it's more just giving them insight as to, hey, this is everything you need to do today. One more thing to make this a little easier, I'm going to click on these items on my dots, the 3 dots right here, and increase the indent so that now there's a little bit of a visual indication of what the hierarchy is here, what falls under weekly reading and what falls under weekly to do. Okay, so I've kind of broken those up. Now, one last thing I want to show you that I think you'll really like. This is, and this has to do with creating signals. And signals, if you're not familiar with that term, and I'm sure you're familiar with the concept because it goes by different names sometimes, but signals in learning is basically something, a pattern that you create that helps students understand the flow. A good example of a signal is a newspaper. A newspaper has certain signals that help you read and understand the newspaper. For example, all of your article headings are larger. That's a signal. That way, when you look at a newspaper and you see larger text, you automatically know that that's a title heading because you're familiar with that signal. Well, you can create signals for your courses as well, and an easy way to do it is to use emojis. So there's a website. I'm going to share this in the chat. Now, I know you can't necessarily click on links. Hold on here. You may not be able to click on links in the chat, but this website is emojipedia.org. Okay, this is a really great resource you can use to create signals. You can put emojis in your course, which sounds a little bit childlike, but they are super valuable. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to look up book. Here's a stack of books. I'll copy that emoji, bring it over, and in my text header, I'm going to put a little stack of books. So now when students see that icon, they know right away that that's the reading, okay? They're able to find information quicker. They're able to interpret the information quicker, and it makes it far easier to use, okay? Anyway, the weekly to-do, I'm gonna go ahead and look up a check on this Emojipedia, and I'll use this check mark right here. Now, if you didn't catch how I did this, it was simple copy paste. Emojis are just like text. So I can literally highlight it like this and copy it, and then I come over to my modules, hit edit, and then paste. And now I've got a check mark. Struggling with that. Anyway, so just a few things that we did here. We added the text headers, and we did that through clicking the add and finding text headers. We indented through these 3 dots, and then we added emojis. Now let's go back and give you another quick exercise. Again, it's only going to be about 2 or 3 minutes for this one. We're going to organize your modules using text headers, insert or indent some of the module contents, and then try adding some emojis. Again, the website that we used was emojipedia.org. I think it's .org. Yeah, emojipedia.org. If you just search in your Google Emojipedia, you'll find it that way as well. But let's go ahead and try this out. Let's organize some of our modules. And I'm gonna, again, give you a little bit of time. Feel free to ask any questions in the Q&A, and we'll go from there. Background voice. We're not done with our exercise time yet, but I'm going to show you all a quick pro tip. I had a really good question in the chat that said, hey, can I duplicate my text headers so that I don't have to retype them every time, save myself some time, right? The short answer is yes. In fact, let's say hypothetically that I want to do weekly reading and weekly to do in every single week. What I'd probably do is create a new module, and I'm just going to call this my weekly template. Okay, I'm just going to call it a template. And now, instead of putting any content in it, I'm just going to put my text headers, and we're going to call it weekly reading. Okay, oh, it's giving me that weird issue. I got to jump over and go back to text header. There we go. So now I've got weekly reading. Then I do another text header. Call it weekly to do. Okay, I'm going to add that here. Now, if I wanted to use this, I could just come over to my module right up here, these 3 dots, hit the 3 dots and hit duplicate. And now I'll still have to change the name. Like I'll have to come in here and be like, okay, this is edit. This is, you know, week 3 or whatever, right? So I'll still have to go in and change some things, but now my text headers are already there. So I don't have to click add over and over and over and over. Okay, so it's a pretty sweet deal. Anyway, I'm going to turn the music on again. Still want to give a little bit of time to work. It's probably going to be about 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we'll go ahead and move forward.
Hey, Kyle, are you
Hey,
muted?
okay, yeah, sorry, I just saw the chat. I'm speaking now. Okay, so sorry about that, guys. I had my mute on. Hey, it happens, right? Anyway, so one of the things I'm going to show you now is how to work with modules and be able to organize the student flow, okay? Because one of the major challenges that you have with modules is if I'm looking at this module, I have welcome to class and then I have week one. There's a lot of students that might see this welcome to class and think, you know what, I have already read the welcome module in all my other classes. I'm just going to skip it and I'm going to start right here, right? I mean, how many times do we have to tell students like read my syllabus, right? Because they think, oh, well, I've read a syllabus before, not a big deal, whatever. In this case, we can actually, and sometimes instructors have a little bit of a fear about that, right? They don't want students moving on to week one before they complete this welcome to the class module where they learn about what's going on in the course, right? And you can actually solve that using modules if you create your content in modules. And let me show you what I mean. I'm going to jump over here to my course that I have previously created. And I have a class introduction, then I have unit 1, the solar system. And the idea is I do not want my students to go on to unit 1 until they've completed this particular module, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up two different things. They're called prerequisites and they're also called requirements. Okay, let me show you how these work before I actually create them. I'm going to jump back to my home page and I'm going to log in as a student into this course. And if I go to my modules, as a student, you can see, okay, here's start here and welcome. And the other stuff displays, but the student can't click it. It's all grayed out. Same thing with the stuff down here. They can see what's going to happen that week. So they can even prep for it and get an understanding of what's going to happen. But they can't access it because we want them to access this content before. Basically saying, hey, look, you have to look at my syllabus before you move on. You have to look at my welcome page. You have to submit your first welcome assignment. And that's all to kind of ensure that students are going to be successful, right? So, so let's kind of walk through how we go through this process. Well, one more thing, let me show you. So if I jump into this as a student and I look at my welcome page, which right now is empty, but I jump back to my modules, now look what happens for the student. Now they can access this, but also gives them a little checkbox so they know where they're at. And one more cool thing, I can actually, as a teacher, as an instructor, I can click view progress in my modules and it shows me where everybody's at. So I can see Hermione Granger, she needs to complete this still. Harry Potter, he's just unlocked the module, hasn't even done anything in it. And I think that's the case with most of these individuals. Anyway, the point is you can see a lot more of what your students are doing. And it's not to play big brother, but more so just to essentially be able to be more supportive. If you know what's going on with your students, you have more ability to be supportive. All right, so how we actually add those prerequisites. Let's do that in my sandbox. So in this case, I'm gonna say, hey, you cannot do week 1 until you go through welcome to my class. So I'm gonna come over here to my week 1, I'm gonna click my 3 dots and I click edit, okay? And I add what's called a prerequisite. So I hit add prerequisite, it's gonna have me select the module and I select welcome to class, hit update. And now it tells students, hey, look, you cannot go to module 1 or to week 1 until you complete welcome to the class. All right. This is super valuable to be able to control student flow. It really can support a cognitive approach to learning, right? Because it gives students content in the order that they need to receive it in order to learn it. Now, one of the challenges though with prerequisites is if I set up prerequisites, then the next thing I have to do is I have to set up requirements for my welcome to class, because we're telling Canvas, hey, I don't want students to do week 1 until they complete this module, but we have to ask ourselves, what does it mean to complete the module? Does that mean they just look at everything in the module? Or does that mean that they actually get like a certain score on a quiz? Or does it mean they have to just submit an assignment? Once they've submitted it, they can move on? So in order to set up that infrastructure, we need to set up requirements on the Welcome to the Class module. So I'm going to click the three dots right over here, hit Edit, and now I can add requirements to my Welcome to the Class page. So I'm going to hit Add Requirements, and now it says students must complete all these requirements. They must, I'm going to say they have to move through them in a sequential order, so they got to start at the top and move down. And the Welcome to the Astronomy page, notice that this drop-down list, look at this. It's interesting. The Welcome to Astronomy matches Welcome to Astronomy. And then if I click on Meet Your Instructor right there, Meet Your Instructor. So the things that are appearing in this drop-down are the things that are in my modules, okay? So I'm gonna say they have to view that Welcome to Astronomy page. They have to view the Meet Your Instructor page. Then the discussion, they have to introduce themselves. And then the first Canvas assignment, they have to submit it. And actually, I need to change this. Introduce yourself. They have to contribute to the page. So now they're going to have to contribute to the discussion. So now, if I hit update, it tells students they're going to have to view, contribute, submit. And that's what my student has to do in order to access my content. Now, one more thing that I'm going to show you. Now, I know this is the part where we start to hit a little bit of overload because I've shown you a lot of things in modules. It's okay if you're feeling a little overwhelmed and you're like, you know what? I just want to keep building modules. Okay, that's okay. I just want to make sure that we go over some of these things for those of you who may really want to leverage some of these tools and may be ready to leverage these tools. Anyway, let me, one last thing before we go into our exercise. If I try to view this right now, it's not actually, notice the modules are still hidden from students, even though we've created modules. The reason why is because none of my modules are published. I have to publish my modules to show them to students. So I'm going to come over here, click my publish button. Now all this stuff is published. I know that because it's turned green. I'm going to publish this one, but I won't publish week 2 and the weekly template and week 3. So now if I go back to my home page, which this is how I can see what it looks like for students. If I click home and then click on the student view right here. Now I can see, oh God, I got all these pop-ups, there we go. Here's welcome to my class, here's week 1. All those other modules are hidden because I didn't publish those, okay? So now my student, this is what they would see. And then to get out of here, I just click leave student view. All right, so again, how I did that, just a quick reminder, to add prerequisites, you do that at the module levels. You click on the module and hit edit, and then you can add prerequisites. You cannot add requirements if there's nothing in the module. But if you add prerequisites, you're going to want to go back to whatever module you made the prerequisite, and you're going to want to add requirements. So you hit the 3 dots, hit edit, and now you can add requirements. And then lastly, I made sure that things were published by clicking the publish buttons. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into another exercise time. It's going to be about 5 minutes, and then we'll kind of go from there. Here's the list, by the way. So publish your modules, add a prerequisite, add a requirement.
I gotta get my
Coffee, use the restroom, whatever you need to do. I'm going to give you about 10 minutes. So come back right now. Pacific time, it's 10 a.m. So come back at 10:10 a.m. and we'll be getting started right then. So be ready to go. I'm going to play the music stills just so that you know you haven't been disconnected. But we'll be jumping on at 10:10. So yeah, take a quick break and we'll be back shortly. We're back. Let's go ahead and get started with our next piece, which we're actually done talking about modules for a little bit. Modules are a really important part of what we do in your course. So I can't reiterate that enough. That's why we talked about them first. But just important is what I like to call the front door of your course, okay? So to give you a little context, what we've done so far, we talked about organizing your Canvas course with modules, so we can check that off the list. Next thing we're gonna talk about is building an incredible homepage, okay? A homepage is the first thing your students see when they come into your course. And it's an important piece, not because you have to make your course look pretty. Okay, yes, it can be aesthetic. It can make your course look nicer, but it doesn't even have to be necessarily. Really, what a homepage is about, the primary role of the homepage is allowing students or giving students cues or indicators of where to go when they first jump into your course. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about, is how can we build an incredible homepage to make this so that students don't have to wonder where to go. The navigation will all be set up for them. Okay, so let me show you a homepage I created really quickly. I'm going to go to pages. I created this just yesterday for this training. So here's an example of a homepage. Let me tell you what's good about it. Okay, now yours doesn't have to look exactly like this, but if you want to, this is what I'm going to be creating today, is something very similar to this. Notice I have some aesthetic things, some introduction to the course, right? A banner right up top that tells students which course they're in. Remember that students may be in different like 3 or 4 different courses at a time. And you don't want them to get confused. You want them to easily identify your course. So the banner helps do those things. Okay, it makes them know they're in the right place. They know they're in the right place. Secondly, I recommend, so first we've got our banner. Second aspect that I say every homepage should have is a really brief introduction. Don't make it too long though. You notice here I have, I think, 5 sentences and it's a total of 2 lines. If this was on a mobile device, it might be a little bit longer, right? Because it's going to be a small screen. But my point is it's minimal text. It's just a little bit. And it's not to tell them all about the syllabus. I'm not going to post everything, all of my course policies on the homepage, okay? Because what happens when you just throw a ton of things on the front page is students don't know where to go and they tend to skip things. Because they'll look and be like, oh, wow, this is a whole page of text. I'm going to look around and skip around to try to figure out if there's an easier route, right? they start looking for videos or whatever. But no, I might just introduce them to the text and here say, you know, welcome to the planet, you know, from planets to the cosmos. We're going to be talking about space exploration and what it means to the scientific community, whatever, you know, I may choose to put in there. My point is, you want to keep it short. Another key detail here is, this is true of any page, not just home pages, but I divide it up into segments. See this little divider right here? I'm going to show you how to make one of these today so that you can divide your pages up and it's easier for students to chunk content out. Just like a newspaper has different sections or divided into columns, right? It makes the newspaper easier to read so people will actually read it. In this case, what we're doing is we're dividing up our pages so that they're easier to read. They're easier to break out and interpret. And then finally, I'm also going to show you how to do this, which is essentially just a menu of buttons. This is where the homepage really gets its value. We have a syllabus, so students can jump straight to the syllabus and look at the syllabus if they want. If they need to find our contact info, they can click on this link here. If they need help, they can click here. We might even include another button here that says something like lessons, right? So when they're ready to jump into the weekly content, they can access that there. If I'm using an online textbook, I may want to add a button there that's an online textbook. Okay, so I can add those quick links right here on my homepage so that students can access them quickly, and so that when they first jump into the course, they can easily say, okay, I want to go to the syllabus, so I'll click on syllabus and learn more about what's in the syllabus. So creating a little bit of structure, a little bit of a format that makes it easy for students to, again, navigate and easy for students to find your content. That's what we're going to do now. And we're going to break this really into 3 different parts, okay? We're going to break it into 3 different exercises. The first exercise is going to be creating the actual page. Next is going to be creating the images. And then finally, we're going to learn how to add links, okay? So let's start with creating the page, all right? Now, to create the page, you can get to a page a couple of different ways. If I click on home, since I don't have a home page yet, it just takes me to my modules. If to create a brand new homepage, I could use one of these. I could access one of these and make it my homepage. Maybe I want this welcome page to be my homepage. That's not what I'm going to do though. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and click on pages right over here. And you can see I've created a homepage here. I'm going to create a second one and I'm going to click add page. I'm going to give it a title. We'll call it home page example. And then I hit save. Okay, so now I have my homepage example. When I'm on pages, if I need to, I can click view all pages. It will show me all my pages. So now I can see here's homepage example. Here's these two. I'm going to be working on this one today because that's I'm going to be creating an example. Okay, now let's take a quick opportunity for you to follow along with those steps. So go to pages in Canvas, create a new page, and just add the title. That's all we've done so far. Okay, we're going to do this in we're going to break it down into steps. So this one is probably going to be only 1.5 to 2 minutes because it's a little easier. But go to your pages, create a new page, give it the title of home page. Hopefully you have a page created now. Let's talk about actually creating the page. So I'm going to jump into my page, and I may need to click edit. Okay, so to get to my page, I just click on the page and then click edit, right? So now I'm back in my page and I'm ready to edit. But something you need to know about creating pages and creating content in Canvas, and this is something I talk about a little bit in the beginner course, but images cannot be created in Canvas. They have to be created outside of Canvas and then brought into Canvas, okay? So what I mean, the reason why I say that is sometimes people, they don't realize that. They think that they're gonna learn how to create these beautiful images in Canvas, but you don't actually create images in Canvas. You'll need to create them outside of Canvas. Now, there's a number of ways that you can create images. I'm gonna show you one way today, which is probably the easiest of all methods, okay? It's the easiest, but it's definitely not the most robust, okay? It's really simple, but you may not be able to create an image exactly the way you want it this way. So I say that because I know there's some of you out there that may already be familiar with maybe Photoshop or Illustrator or Canva. If any of you use Canva, it's a great resource. And that's, by the way, sometimes it's a little misheard, is Canva. So Canvas without the S. This is Canva. I'm not going to use this tool today. I wouldn't call it advanced, but it's a little more advanced at what I'm going to be doing today. This is something you may want to explore here. I'll just share this in the chat with everybody really quick. That way you have it if you want to explore it later. We're not going to be getting into this today, but it is a great tool to help you create images, and it's really easy to use. But my point is you have to create good images or to create things to put in Canvas, you have to create them outside of Canvas. And so this next piece, let me show you how I created that last homepage, okay? I'm gonna be using screenshots and then a collection. So I'm gonna be using screenshots, or I'm gonna be using, in addition to PowerPoint or Google Slides. So it's either gonna be PowerPoint or Google Slides. You can work in either one and do what I'm about to do. Okay. The other thing you need to know is how you take screenshots on your computer. If you're not sure, you can Google how to take a screenshot on your computer. On Windows computers, if you just open up your search and just search snip, there's a tool called a snipping tool, which is what I'm going to be using today. But if you're on a Mac, it's going to be a little different for you. If you're on a Chromebook, it's going to be a little different for you. What I recommend is you just go to Google and search how to take a screenshot on a Mac or on a Chromebook or whatever, okay? Because we're going to be leveraging that today. Anyway, let's get started with creating an image. And again, this is going to happen outside of Canvas. So I'm going to go to one of my favorite places to get photographs, this website called pexels.com. I'll share it with everybody in the chat. Pexels.com, they have free photos and they have a huge collection. Photographers basically just upload their own photography and it's all free to use for commercial or personal use, really. So I'm going to go ahead and search. I'm going to search, since I'm doing a space theme here, I'll just search space. Here's a whole bunch of really cool space images. That's awesome. Some of them are edited, some of them are not. Cool, I like it. So now what I'm going to do is maybe take this one right here. I'm going to open it you can open it and download it. What I like to usually do is I just right click on it and I open it in a new tab so I get the full photo. Well, that one's still a little small. I'm going to maybe pick a different one. This one right here. So right click and open an image in new tab. So it's a nice big image, okay? Now, this is where the screenshot comes in, okay? So I'm gonna pull up my screenshot tool. And if I'm trying to create a banner, I'm just gonna kind of get the shape that I want. Maybe I don't want it right there though. I want it with more of these stars. So like this size right there, okay? I like that right there. There's my banner. So I'll go ahead and snip that. And now this is where PowerPoint or Google Slides come in, okay? So I've got a Google Slides here. I'm gonna take from my snipping tool, I'm gonna copy this image, and let's go ahead and just do a new slide. I'm gonna paste it. And you could use PowerPoint to do this as well, but I'm gonna paste it in here, okay? So now I have my space. Now, I could put text right over the top, but one thing, just a quick design tip, one thing that's really important to keep in mind with text is the background, right? There needs to be sufficient contrast. So if I come in here and I say, you know, welcome to my class, that's really hard to read, right? So as I design it, I'm gonna wanna add some contrast in. So I'm gonna change this color to white. And now that's probably good enough just because I've got such a dark purple background, but sometimes it still doesn't, like what if this was over here on these stars? A little trickier to read because those stars, right? So, whoops, there we go. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm going to move this for now and we'll make it black again. And again, we're not gonna go over all the tools in PowerPoint, but I'm just gonna show you a few things. I'll get a shape and I'll put it over the top of this. Make sure it's the exact same size. And then I'm gonna change the color. I don't want a border, and I'm gonna change the color. And both PowerPoint and Google Slides can do this. If I create a custom color, maybe I wanna do like, maybe we'll just do like a blue. And I'm going to actually create some transparency. So now it's an overlay. So, and this still may not be as, you know, I would probably spend more time creating the image. Like I spent a little bit more time on this, but I did an overlay on this one as well. That way it would be easier to see that white text. But when you create an overlay, and then I'm gonna arrange and bring these to the top. When you do an overlay now, if I make my text white, and put it on top, is really easy to see, really easy to read, okay? Now I know that's a little bit tricky for some. This might be a little bit really simple for others. So again, all I did was take screenshots, right? And then use my PowerPoint tool, which you might be familiar with. Now what I'm gonna do is if this is the banner that I want, now I'm gonna get my screenshot tool again, and I'm just going to create a new screenshot of my completed banner. And now I have it. And I can hit save. I'm just gonna call this my welcome banner. Okay. Now, I realize that's not the most, there's other ways. Like I could actually export this as an image and I wouldn't have to screenshot it, right? There are other ways where I control the dimensions. There's other ways to create images. If you know those other ways, feel free to use them. I'm not saying this is the best way to do it, but what I am saying is, look, if you don't know how to create images, this is a really easy way to do it. You find a way to do a screenshot or a screen snip. You may want to search screen snip. So you just, you know, Google how to do a screen snip on PC, on Mac, on Chromebook, okay? Whatever it is that you're working on, you may need to Google search that. Once you find that tool, then you can do what I did. You go to Pexels, you find an image that you like. Maybe I want to do this one of the moon and just do a snip of this one. I'll just do kind of like the moon right there, right? And then you take that snippet, bring it into PowerPoint or into Google Slides, and you can add text to it, do whatever you want, right? Now I know that's, like I said, really pretty basic, but it should work, I think, for most people. If this is a piece that you struggle with, you can always use other images. You can get other images from other teachers. you can reach out and search online and find other images. This is just a really great way and a simple way to create some customized images. With that, let's go ahead and have some work time for you to create some of your own images. So let's skip this step. I will show you this after, okay? So we're not uploading the image to Canvas yet. All I want you to do is get the image, okay? I think that I'll show you how to upload it after, and then I'll give you a little bit of time to upload it after. But let's skip. We're just going to do these first 2 steps. Create a screenshot of an image, add text in Google Slide or PowerPoint, and then we'll go from there, okay? So it's going to be about 4 or 5 minutes on this one, and then I'll be back. I'm up and running away. Everybody, that step is a little bit, that step's a little bit more intense than some of the others that we've had for some people. So I wanted to make sure you had plenty of time for that. Let's go ahead and show you now how to get those images. Once you have them, get those images into Canvas, okay? So I need to pull up my Canvas. There we are. Now, I was talking to some of your admins. I should have demonstrated this in PowerPoint. It sounds like most people use PowerPoint over Google Slides. They are very similar, but you can do the same thing in PowerPoint. Bring in an image, put a shape over it, and give it a color, put text on it, that type of thing. So you can do the exact same thing I did here. You can do in PowerPoint. In fact, I actually think PowerPoint's better for it, so I should have done it over there. Anyway, once you have the image out, what you'll want to do is get that banner uploaded to your course on your Canvas page. You're going to come over to this little image guy right here, this little mountains with the sun. So we click on that, upload image. I'm going to select my welcome banner right here. And I'm actually going to do my Cosmos banner. I like that one a little more. We'll just duplicate the same stuff I was doing before. And we'll hit submit. And then there's my banner. Okay, there's my banner. I may want to do, there are other things you can do to kind of supplement this to make it work a little bit better. One is if you click these image options, we can choose to make this a decorative image or add alt text. In this example, I'm actually going to make it a decorative image. And that's not because there isn't text here, but mostly because this text, if someone with a screen reader was using this page, the course title is up here. So it does not need to repeat the course title. And so I am choosing to make this a decorative image. You can also change the size if you need to. One more really cool trick. Now this one's a little bit more advanced, so ignore this. If you're feeling a little overload, feel free to ignore this. But for a lot of people, they may want the banner to extend all the way to the edge of the page. An easy way to do that is to actually go into the code right here. So we click on this code right here, goes into the code, and then where it says IMG, that means image, okay? Where it says this IMG, I'm gonna type a phrase. I'm gonna type width equals, quote, 100%, end quote. That's all you have to type. Okay, so I just type right after image, I type space width equals 100%, end quote. You always want to be a little careful when you jump into the code, but if it's the first thing you've added just like that, it's not too bad. So we can go ahead and add that in. If you don't have that width equals 100%, it's going to look something like this, you know. It's going to look like this, right? You can choose to just center it. I think that looks pretty good as well. All right, then I'll add my descriptive text, you know, my little bit of text. So I'll say welcome. And then we're going to make that bold. And then here is a description of. Okay. And then now if we're trying to make it like that other homepage, we need to create a divider line. Okay. So for this piece, I'll go ahead and I'll use Office 365. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my Office 365. and I'm going to create a new PowerPoint here. And I'm going to create that divider line that we were showing you. So I'm really just going to take a screenshot. But if I come up here, I can just hit insert, and I'm going to do a, let's see, a shape, and it's a line. So I'm just going to pick this line right here. I'm going to have it extend, and oh, see, this is why I don't use PowerPoint as much. Normally, I'll just make it as straight as I can. I'm not sure if it's 100% straight or not, but anybody, let's see here. I'm going to make my width greater. Oh, whoops, not width, my height. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Okay, sorry, I have not used PowerPoint in a little while. We'll insert a shape, and maybe I'm just going to do, I'm going to do a rectangle, but I'm going to make it kind of skinny. That'll actually be better. So I'm going to make it kind of skinny. And then we're going to let's make it as wide as we want it. And then we'll make it kind of thin. So now I have my divider. Okay, so now I have my divider. And if I want to actually put that in, I can change the colors of it and things like that, but I'm not going to worry about that for now. Now I can export it, or I can just like before, take a quick screenshot. And now I have my divider. We'll call this divider blue. And then here on my Canvas page, all I have to do is, I'm going to reset this so that it's the right size. I'm going to go up to image again, upload an image, find that divider. And there it is. Go ahead and put that in. If I want to make this divider go all the way across, I can do the same thing I did with my banner. I can go into the code and find that IMG, that image that represents the banner. Width equals 100%. And again, that's an advanced step. You don't have to do that, but now it spans the entire width. Okay, so I can add in a divider. Let's go ahead and take a quick break time to be able to add some images to your canvas. I noticed that there were a few of Canvas into a single session like this, and that's okay. It's understandable. But I'm going to show you just a few more things. That way we see on this homepage, what can we do to add those buttons. Now, I'm not going to spend time creating the buttons this time around. I'm just going to add and when I say buttons, what I'm talking about is on that previous homepage that I was showing you on this one, I'm talking about these down here. I'm not going to spend time creating them, but I'll tell you how I created them. It was pretty much the same way. I got screenshots of images that I'd found, and then I used PowerPoint or Google Slides, and then I just created a box that, you know, said finding help in it. And then I did, you know, a screenshot of that box, right? So I just did that. And of course I didn't include the little, the little selection tool. So, I mean, I did my screenshot a little differently, but the point is I did it pretty much the same. I brought over an image, added some text to it, just like that. Some people, if you don't like having your buttons be this large, another thing that you can do is, here, I'm just going to change the color. You can just create buttons like this. And then once if you create buttons like that, when you upload them, they'll just be essentially just be text, right? So they'll just look like that. Link, we'll do a course link in this case. We'll go to a course navigation. We'll link straight to the syllabus feature in Canvas. So now there's a link right there in the text that students can click on. okay? So I know my homepage isn't like complete, and that's because I'm doing it really briefly. The goal is to eventually have something that looks a little more like this, okay? But it looks pretty good. It's a good start. And I realize that there's some accessibility issues. My accessibility tool is catching that. To fix a lot of those, you can just click on the little gear and it will help you fix those accessibility images. And I'm not going to go through all the details here, but you can, click these links. What does this mean? And it tells you about it. How to write a good description, and it'll tell you about it. So if you're concerned about accessibility, which I think everybody should be to some degree, you can click those little cogs and it will help you fix the accessibility issues with your images. They're generally pretty easy to fix, and it shouldn't really change your image all that much. It should look pretty much the same after you're done. Anyway, let's go ahead and take another break for, not a break, but we'll go ahead and practice adding links and adding those images. We'll do this for about 5 minutes, and when we get back, we'll be taking another break. So yeah, take the next 5 minutes and explore adding those links, and then we'll go from there. Quick break. It's going to be about 10 minutes. Right now it is 11 a.m. in your time. As long as I'm doing my time translations correctly. We're going to go for the next 10 minutes on a break until 11:10. So go ahead and take a break, stretch your legs, use the restroom, do whatever you need to do. We're almost through this. I know it's a lot of information, and I'm definitely excited to share it with you, but I want to make sure that you're able to take it all. So go ahead and take a break, and then we'll be back here in about 10 minutes. Now we're back from break. Let's go ahead and start moving into our next topic of discussion, which is copying Canvas content. Okay. Now this also includes once you get your course migration, you may need to copy some of that content into some other Canvas courses. They may not be exactly where you want them to be. So this also relates to your course migration. So keep that in mind. But when I say copying Canvas content, I'm talking about more than just copying content from one of your courses to another one of your courses. I'm also talking about sharing content among instructors. What you'll find is that some of you are probably very talented with creating images, creating home pages, creating the aesthetics of the course. And some of you maybe are not talented in that space, right? Others of you may be really talented at creating lesson outlines or lesson plans. And if there's a reason that you want to be able to share these with one another, sharing content in Canvas is also very easy. And that's something we're going to talk about today. Now, let's jump into our whiteboard before we actually go into Canvas. Okay, back on my whiteboard. So I'm going to teach you about a tool. In fact, I'll show you in Canvas really quick. We won't go deep into it. But over here on the left, you see this tool called Commons right here. Okay. I'm going to teach you about this tool because honestly, this is my favorite way to copy Canvas content. It's one of the easiest ways to copy Canvas content. And it's one of the most flexible ways of copying Canvas content. So honestly, I think it's the best. Now, it doesn't fit every bill. There's sometimes in Canvas, there's like 3 or 4 ways to actually copy content. So there's lots of different ways that you could do it. However, this is the way that I prefer above all others, okay? And I'll explain why as we go through. Anyway, the way that Commons works. So Commons is a bank of Canvas content that anyone can share content to and anyone can pull for content from. But it looks like this. So in Canvas, you have your course, right? And if this is my course and I create this really cool module, maybe that's what this X represents, right? And I want to get it over into this course over here. You can direct share. There's different ways to do that. But the way that we're going to talk about now is sharing through Commons. With Commons, there's a middleman. Okay, so there's this middle section where we say, hey, I'm going to share this up to Commons, and now it's in Commons. And then later I'm going to say, hey, I want to pull this out into this other course. And now it's shared. But the cool part is you can do it several times, right? So if I have another course, maybe it's not even my course, it's a friend of mine's, they can pull this as well. So now they have the content in their course. And once it's in Commons, you can share it as many times as you want. But there's lots of flexibility with this. There's a lot of really cool things that come with this. One really cool function of this is that when you share this way, these connections, you know, from here to here, and then from here over to here and so forth, these are what I call loose connections, okay? In other words, let's say I create a homepage that I really like and I want to share it to my other spaces. I can create it, share it, and then let's say I make a change. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to change this, so now it's a circle with an X in it. I can choose whether or not I want to push this change. So maybe I made that change just for this one, you know, just for course number 1, and I don't want to push that to Commons. Or I could say, you know what? Yeah, let's push that change to Commons. And now it's in Commons. So now I was able to update the content in Commons. But then the people over with these courses, whether that's me or another course, in course number 2 and course number 3, they get to choose whether or not they want to accept those updates. So course number 3 might say, yeah, you know what? I want those updates. Those are good updates for me. But course number 2 says, no, I'm going to keep it the way it is. So that loose connection allows for a lot of flexibility, okay? So that's one of the reasons I really like Canvas. One of the reasons I really like Commons. Another reason why I really like Commons is you can share an entire course, or you can share just a module, or just a quiz, or even just a single page or image. So you don't have to share an entire course with somebody, but you can. You can choose at what level you want to share that. And then one last thing is you also get to choose who you share with. You could say, hey, I only want to share this with myself so that I'm the only one that sees it. Or you could say, I want to share this with everyone at, excuse me, my yawns are coming on. Or we could say, I want to share this with everyone at CSU Fullerton. Nobody else. Or I could even say, you know what, I want to share this with everyone publicly. Anyone who uses Canvas can use this. And there's a lot of flexibility with who you can share with, how much you share, and kind of the control that you have over sharing. So that's how Commons works. And it's pretty straightforward. But let's actually go through the process in Canvas and show you how to actually share something to Commons. Before we do it in Commons, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this homepage with all y'all in Commons. So I'm going to go to my pages. And then this is called homepage. So I'm going, oops. And then in here, I'm going to come right over here and click the 3 dots. And I find this icon right here, share to Commons. Okay, whenever you see this icon right here, that means share to Commons. And it's in a few different places, because like I said, you can share with a page, or you can share an entire module, or you can share an entire course. But you'll see that same icon. So just before I share this, here, let me show you. If I go to settings of this course, now I can share the entire course to Commons, but it's got the same icon. So that's the key right there. That's what we're looking for when we're looking to share stuff to Commons. We look for that. So let's jump back to the page so I can actually share this to Commons. I'm going to do this home page, click the 3 dots, hit share to Commons. Excuse me. Oh. The first time you access Commons, it's going to ask you to authorize the access. So I'm going to go ahead and hit authorize. And if this was something I was sharing with others, I'd probably want to put more details. I may want to come down here and be like 3 buttons and then put the 3 buttons. It's to syllabus, it's to instructor info, and then help, right? Those are the 3 buttons that are provided. So it's good to provide just a little bit additional recording. It's good to provide that little bit, or not recording, description. It's good to provide a little bit additional description so that when people are looking for your content, they know that it's good, right? Because they can get an idea of what it looks like. They'll be able to preview it before, but again, this just The more information I can provide, the better off I'm going to make it for those who are looking for my content. Same thing with tags here. If I'm searching for certain content, maybe I want to find content specifically related to astronomy or something like that. I can tag this stars, you know, or I can tag this space. That way when people, maybe somebody searches space homepage, they might get my item that comes right up because it's got that tag, right? So tagging your content makes it easier to find. Finally, you'll have to add an image. You can choose to upload an image from your computer. I'll go ahead and upload one, or you can pull one from all these free images here. I'm going to just upload one. We'll use this one right here since I created it. Oh, apparently I can't. I need to, must be at least 262 by 147. So let's just pick this one. And then you can designate, because Canvas users go from all the way from pre-K all the way up to, you know, graduate school, you can designate who's it for. And then you hit share. Oh, hold on, only me. There we go. Then you hit share, and now it's shared. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take a quick break from learning, and we're going to do some practice. So go back to your course and share something to Commons. It could be a page, okay? It could be an entire module. Like if I go to modules, I could choose to share my module. The only thing that I ask is right now, only share it with yourself, okay? Don't share it with everybody else. So it'll ask you, who do you want to share this with? Just share it with yourself. Because right now we're not trying to build a huge Commons library of stuff that we created in training. Just share it with yourself. Here's the 3 steps. Go through go share some of your Canvas content to Commons. Share it with yourself only, and try to include some relevant tags. Try that out. I'll give you about 5 minutes to do this, and then we'll be back together again. Piece of Commons, which is how to get content out of Commons, but I need to backtrack just a little bit. I had somebody ask a question. I realized I totally spaced it on something. I apologize. It must be Monday or something. Anyway, we talked about creating a homepage, but I never actually showed you how to set your homepage. So when I click home, it doesn't take me to my homepage, right? It takes me to modules, which is a problem. So I'm going to walk you through really quick how to actually set up that homepage. Basically, once it's created, we've done the easy part. You can change your homepage when you're on home. You can change your homepage at any time using this choose homepage right here. But there's a catch. When I click choose homepage, it won't let me choose the page I created. That's what this option is. It won't let me choose it. And it's because there's an extra step. I'll show you. So I have to go to pages. And then on my homepage, the one I want to be my homepage, it has to be published. So I'm going to publish it. Okay. And then I click the 3 dots and select use as front page. If this option does not display, it's probably because it's not published. If you didn't publish it, then you need to publish the page and then select use as front page. Now it's going to say front page. Now it's not the home page yet. I know it feels a little goofy because I set it up as my front page, but if I go back to home, it's not my home page yet. Now I need to select this choose home page right here. And I select pages front page, hit save, and now this is my home page. Okay, so now I have my home page that, you know, it's actually set up the way that I want it. I know that that's a little bit of a pain there. But again, the steps I went through, I went to pages, view all pages, if you don't have a home page. So pages, and then you find the page, make sure it's published, click the 3 dots. Now it says remove, but it would say make front page, right? Uses front page, there it is. And then from my home page, I can now select choose home page and pages front page. Okay, so those are the steps that you're going to want to go through to do that. All right. Okay, so that is so that was the one piece I wanted to fill in. We're not going to do some practice time for that just because of our time's sake. There's still a couple more things that I want to get through that I want you to be able to see. But that is how you're going to actually add your homepage. Okay. All right. Now, Whew, let's go back to Commons. So now we've learned how to share stuff to Commons from our Canvas course. Let's talk about how do we get it out of Commons? How do we get it from Commons? And to do that, I'm actually going to go to Commons. I'm going to click on this link right here, just open up Commons in another window here. So when you click on that, usually Commons takes a second or two to load. So I'm going to give it a second here. All right, so now from Commons, just one moment. So from Commons, you see a lot of different options here. So Commons is a marketplace. It's a place where because people can share things publicly, there's a lot of content in here all over the place. Okay, there's just tons and tons of content. Now this content, it is like, think of it kind of like YouTube, right? So YouTube has, YouTube is a user supported content space. In other words, all the content on YouTube, all the videos, they're created by other users, which means sometimes they're really great because somebody spends a good amount of time and good thought and process into their video. Other times the video is really not that great because maybe the person who created it was inexperienced, or maybe the person that created it didn't actually put the time through to make it great. So that's something that that you probably want to consider. Not all the content in Commons is going to be fantastic. Okay, I'll show you how to find the better content. One is you'll notice sometimes there's featured content. This is featured by CSUF, Canvas Support Resources for CSUF students. If you want to put this, if I open this up, I can see, look, here's a page with a whole bunch of support resources for Canvas students using Canvas. This would be great to have in my course. I could go ahead and put this in my course, which is easy. Watch how I do this. It's super easy to add this. All I got to do is click import, and then Kyle's sandbox, hit import, and now that page is on its way. Okay. If you click this and your courses don't show here, that's because you're not enrolled in the courses. Okay. Any course that you're enrolled in that's active should display here. Now, a couple other things about this page. I can also get to my own content that I've shared if I click shared. So if I'm trying to put it from one course to another course, I can access it here. Okay. Also, if I want to see what content I've pulled before, I can click import and it'll show me what kind of stuff I've pulled before. And then anything that updates, I can click updates and it will show me what stuff has been updated and whether or not I want to push those updates. If I've favorited anything, I'll see that here. And then this admin tab, you don't need to worry about that. Most of you will not have that. So that's kind of, that's these tool pieces up here. But let me show you a little bit more about finding good content, because not everything in here is going to be awesome. I'm kind of curious if let's look at this one, a homepage template. Let's see what it looks like. This is by Nicole Avina. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. We'll take a look. It's empty, so it's not good. Yeah, it's literally an empty page. I don't know why it was shared to Commons. Maybe someone was just exploring. Let's take a look at this one, see if there's any difference. Nope. So yeah, not super helpful. Obviously, it's, you'll find stuff that's not super helpful. But so to avoid that, this is what I do. One of the things I do is I don't ever search by latest. I almost always will sort by most favorited or most downloaded, because to me, that is an indicator that it's good content. If it's been downloaded a lot, then it indicates to me this is probably good content. This one right here, simple homepage, 8.5 thousand downloads, been favorited 118 times. This is probably pretty good. Maybe it's not, maybe it's me. Oh, what's going on here? This is strange. Normally a preview will display right here. I don't know why it's not displaying. Yeah, it must be mine. So that last homepage must not have been the problem. It's a problem with my computer. I'd have to play a little bit to find out exactly what's going on. I'm not sure. But to get, but normally you'd be able to preview it. So most favorited, I'm going to go most downloaded. Go back to this simple homepage. You can come and look at this. If you like this homepage, then you could pull it through and you could use it, right? So there's lots of opportunity there to be able to find things that you like. So most downloaded or most favorited is what I recommend. The filter also will help. You can filter out things and say, hey, I'm only looking for pages, or I'm only looking for courses or a specific module, something like that. Or you can select multiple of these. You can also filter whether or not something was created to be a template. You can decide based on the grade level. Now remember, this stuff is only as good as the people who filled it out. So if they didn't fill it out very good, it may not be really awesome searches, but that's why it's important to favorite things that you like so you can find them later. Also, you can say who I want to see stuff that's shared with only CSU Fullerton. So now I'm looking at stuff that's only been shared by CSU Fullerton. So it might be easier to find content that way. Homepage template. Look at that. CSU has a template for you. I can't preview it because my Commons is having issues. That's really strange. I don't know what the problem is there. I'll have to go delete my cookies and stuff, play with it a little bit. Look at this. CSU Fullerton even has a full template for you to use with modules, okay? If I scroll down a little further, you can see some of these names you probably recognize. Different content that, that you could pull into Canvas and then use on your own. So those are just a few ways that you can search and find content. Let's go ahead and give you a shot at finding some of your own content for yourself. So go to Commons, search for something, make something a favorite, whether it's a template, and try importing that into a course. And then I'll give you about 10 minutes to do that, and then we'll be back. After we're done with this, we're actually going to be wrapping things up. So this is the last instruction that I have for you. However, after, what we're going to be doing is I have a lot of resources I want to share with you, meaning like, where can you get help after the fact, after we have training, right? So I'll share a lot of resources with you in that way, so you don't want to jump off yet. But this is, you can take comfort in knowing that this is the last new thing for today. Go ahead and try this out, and then I'll be back with you in about 5 minutes. Okay, everybody. So, excuse me, we've wrapped up everything that we're going to talk about on our agenda today. I just saw a question come through, so I'm going to answer it really quick. When you import a search to your course, where does it appear? Oh, when you import any content. That's a great question. I had a few people asking me that actually, so I'll show you really quick. When you import content, it's going to end up somewhere in your course depending on what you imported. So if I go back to my course, if I imported a page, it's going to be in my pages area. If I imported a discussion, it's going to be in the discussions. If I imported a module, it'll be in the module area. Okay. If I import a quiz, it's going to be the quizzes, right? So it just depends on the type of content that you import. And in my case, I imported a page. So if I click on pages and go to view all pages, you can see now, where is it? Canvas support resources for students. There it is, that piece that I had imported. Okay. Jesse asked the question, can I import ShareStream course media from your Sandbox to another Canvas course? I'm not sure. I'm not super familiar with how the ShareStream course media is added. It depends. If it's imported or embedded on a page, you may be able to, but it just kind of depends. I'm not familiar with ShareStream media. And so I don't really have a great answer for that. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's not something I'm super familiar with. Now, that actually, so that brings us to the end of our session, which the rest of our session, we're going to do two things. I have a few housekeeping things we're going to do to wrap up, and then I'm going to open it up for Q&A. So I anticipate the wrap-up's probably going to take us only about 5 to 7 minutes, and then we should be good. Now, the first thing I want to do for wrap-up is I want to share with you this right here, if you don't have this already, okay? This is the project homepage for Canvas implementation for California State University, Fullerton, okay? This has tons of information for getting your content from Moodle over to Canvas. It also has lots of information. For example, if you click on the Canvas workshops, here's the recordings of that beginner workshop that we did before. So if you didn't attend that, here's the advanced workshop, okay? And then here's upcoming workshops as well. So these are all listed on the dates as well. And I'm not sure of all the details. I'm not the one actually, I may be delivering some of these, but I'm not necessarily the one operating and setting these up. So if you have questions about these, what you'll want to do is probably reach out to your administration. In fact, let's just ask some of the panelists there. Is there an email, a good email that the participants or that anyone should reach out to if they have questions about anything they find on this in this space? Who should they reach out to?
Hi, Kyle. They can email lmsproject@fullerton.edu. Okay,
perfect. So if you run into things, you know, if you come across, like, for example, you want to register and something's not working, you can send an email to that email LMS project. Is it project or projects?
It's project.
Okay, LMS project at at CSUF, I believe it was. Fullerton.edu. I'm guessing it's what that was. Sorry, I'm not listening as well as I should be. Anyway, so on top of that, you can also find, if you go to the LMS project, you can find the Canvas hotline where you can always get support. There's links here to the Canvas guides where you can find instructor guides and student guides. One thing I'm not seeing on here, and they might be in here, I did not create this project workbook or this guide, so I'm not as familiar with all the content in here. But one more thing I want to share with everybody that I think would be helpful is the video guides for Canvas. Let me show you the video guides. So it's this page right here. I'll share this with everybody in the chat. There are video guides here, not for all users, right? Anybody using Canvas, as well as, you know, instructors specifically, for students. Those are the big ones that y'all are going to use, instructors and students. And the great thing, the guides that are provided here, if you go to the Canvas guides here and go to these instructor guides, these are step-by-step. These are far more thorough and far more detailed. So if you need specific instructions on given things, these are the guides to go to. But let's say you just want to learn about, like I had somebody asking me about discussions in the chat or in the Q&A a little bit. Well, there's a video here. Discussions. There's a video that's a discussions overview for instructors. So you could jump into this, watch this video that's, you know, I mean, it's 5 minutes roughly. So 5 minutes and you can kind of get an idea of how discussions work in Canvas if you want to use them more. You may not be the expert after the video, but you could definitely get started. It's going to give you a really good insight. And these videos are always, they're updated frequently based on the need of when things change. So they're updated quite often. Some of them may not have been updated for a while, but that just means there haven't been any changes recently. Anyway, the project guides, the LMS project guides, I'm going to share this link in the chat as well. Really pretty great resource that you'll want to have access to, that if you haven't explored already, that you'll want to explore. Now, I noticed there's a question in the chat there. I'm going to answer that question real quick. If you want to remove something from Commons, that's a really great question. So to remove something from Commons, you have to go to Commons. And, oh, hold on, Adrian, I didn't understand your question properly. You said you want to remove everything we imported from Commons, of course, all at once. There is not a real easy way to do that. And that's true of pretty much any way that you import content from Canvas. Once you put it in that course, it's in that course. You can delete it, but not everything all at once. You'd have to basically filter through and remove the things that you want to get rid of. Okay. Yeah, that's what you would need to do. Another question, Adrian, you asked if our ShareStream medium is in titanium, how do we need to request that to be imported to Canvas, or is ShareStream standalone from titanium? That is a question I'm not really sure about, because I'm not sure if your district, or excuse me, if your admins are supporting that kind of shift. So I'm going to let the panelists kind of answer that one, or somebody, one of your admins answer that one, Adrian, because I am not sure on that. Anyway, the last thing that I have for you for y'all before y'all go is a quick survey. I would really appreciate it if you took the survey. This is helpful for me. In the chat. Here is the link to the survey. This is the survey I'm going to be having you take today. So this is how you'll know you're in the right place. I think, and I could be wrong here, but I think the links that I put in the chat, they may not be clickable. If they're not clickable, then if maybe I could have one of the admins email this link out. It doesn't have to be now. It can be after the session. But if I could have y'all participate in the survey just to give me a little bit of feedback, that would be super helpful. If you got anything out of today and you want to say thanks in any way, this is probably the easiest way to say thanks, is your honest feedback. Cool. So I'm going to give y'all a second or two to complete this survey. It sounds like you can click the link, so I'm going to give you a second or two. Honestly, the survey is like 5 or 6 questions, so it shouldn't take very long. And then when we're done, I'm going to jump back in and answer any questions that that may come up. Okay, so I'm going to play the music for just a little bit. Once you finish the survey, you're free to go, but I am going to stick around to the top of the hour answering any questions. So if you have any lingering questions, feel free to ask. Fatima, you asked the question, do we have any project to turn in after this training? Nothing I expect, but I don't know if any of your admins can answer that. Is there anything that attendance-wise, any kind of survey or quiz? I mean, I don't think there is, but I don't want to say no and then have it backfire on anybody.
No, we have no project for anyone. After this webinar, you may receive a link for a survey. If you could just complete that, that would really be helpful for us as well.
Awesome. Perfect. And that survey is separate. So if you complete my survey, you still will want to complete the survey that you get in the email, okay? Because they're separate. So if you make sure there's 2 different surveys. I provided the survey email in the link, or the link to my survey in the chat, in the Zoom chat. You should be able to click that and be able to take that survey, and then the other one you'll get through an email. Fatima, yeah, this is just a 1-day training. So Ying Chao, I do not have everybody's emails, so I'm not going to be sending out the email all the links to you that way. But certainly, in fact, maybe we can get one of your admins. They'll have access to this chat afterhand, the transcript. I don't know if they're going to be compiling links or anything like that to send that out. I don't know, but I know that you can expect further communication from your admins. Sorry, I'm just reading through these questions.
Trainings held by the Division of IT are, our workshops are in the LMS project page under Canvas workshops. There are additional trainings, and I believe, please don't quote me on this, but I believe they are offered through the Faculty Development Center, and they are a little bit different. That might be the one that you might be thinking of.
Okay, cool. Perfect. All right, everybody. Well, that's everything that I had as far as administrative stuff and as far as resources. That's everything I had for you today. Excuse me. Like I said, I'm going to be sticking around to the top of the hour to answer any questions that come through. I really appreciate everybody jumping in on the session today. Hopefully you got the most value possible out of it. And if you don't have any questions, then y'all have a nice day, okay? Enjoy your week. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Thank you so much.